All right, we're going to pick up where we left off last time, and I'm going to begin by making a backup of the work that we did last week. So I'm going to make a copy of that blog folder and then paste it back in. And rename it. And I don't know the exact page we left off on, but it looks like 169. I'm going to say roughly because I'm not exactly sure. So the place where I'm going to start right now is I'm going to just review this file right here, the application controller RB, just so I can kind of get a remembrance of where I left off mostly. So I'm going to bring this up in Notepad++ right now, which is right here. And then I'm just checking to make sure that the stuff that I put in is okay. And it seems that I got that all in there. So I think that part I did. The other thing that we need to look at now on page 172 is this particular file, once again, that we make sure that at the top here we're going to add this before action, which we didn't put in before. Now I'm going to put that after this statement, not before the forgery statement. I'm going to put it after, and I'm just going to paste it in so I don't mess things up there. Save that work. We also need to add a similar thing inside the user's controller, so let's go to that one. Here's the user's controller, and we're just double checking here to make sure that everything is in there that we need to be. So very quickly, just validating. And that looks okay as well. All right, and then what they're having us do, of course, is they're going to have us test to see if we're asked to log in. So this is actually a good opportunity right now to get the server going. So let's get the web server running and the application up in the browser, and then we can come back to this and test it. So we're just going to get all the rest of this code in here. And then I think we're really close to completing the authentication piece if everything works okay. So let's try to do this particular action. So let's go to the browser now and bring up our local host. All right, we have some different CSS if you remember this time, so everything's appearing in a different way. And if they want us, of course, to edit something, it should trigger, and of course I'm looking at the log here as it's loading. Now, in my mind, it shouldn't take quite that long, because you see what's happening in the log, right? It's trying over and over again to trigger the login, and it's not working, is it?
Yeah, I think that you might have put the state in the wrong controller.
Is that the case? Where did I put it in the wrong one?
Well, that statement before action, authenticate.
Yes.
You put it in the application controller.
I did.
In the articles controller.
It does. Okay. You are absolutely correct, sir. Yeah, so I shouldn't have put this here. That's a good catch. Thank you for catching that. So it should have gone in the articles controller. But notice in the background now, You see what happened the moment I removed that and saved it? All of a sudden the login window back in the browser here popped up. Isn't that interesting? All right, so that one should have went in the articles controller. Thank you so much for catching that. All right, so we're going to put it on the next line here. Oh, we already have it. Doesn't need to be there. Okay, so that's okay. We actually did that action. All right, let's go back now. I'm just going to refresh this. Okay, and then I'm going to click on any article to edit. Okay, so now the login window is coming up. All right, so that's what we want. And we really don't need to authenticate anything more than that. We just want to make sure that we're getting prompted if you're trying to change something, basically. So, and that's what we do want. All right, so now we're going to go to this one, the Commons controller, which we haven't touched yet. And in the Commons controller, we're going to have to make some edits too. So let's get this kind of side by side here. So we're going to need to make sure that, okay, we have a before action load article. So you guys notice that? What we are going to do is we are going to replace that first line. If I can get it to cooperate here somewhat. Remember, that's better. And we're going to replace this code here with these two before filters.
Before filter and before action, those are kind of synonymous.
They really are. They are. Because really the job of a filter is to perform an action.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Version of the same.
That is absolutely correct, Robert. All right, and then the last thing that we want to add here is notice that in the destroy section they're also adding this line of code, so we want to make sure that we get that in there. And save it. Okay. So you don't want to keep, it says keep deleting a comment as a public task, therefore authorization is offered first. All right, I'm going to actually go back to the main page here. Now, I don't remember, okay, now I'm starting to remember what my usernames and passwords are. So why don't we actually find an article like this one, just to come up on the screen. I'm going to watch my server log here. And you see this one's not going to render. See, I see that's the nice thing about the server log, is it tells me the error message before it even comes up on the screen. So it's not liking my article comments right now. So let's see. AppViews articles show where line 1 is raised. And it's asking us to render article. So let's go to that file. Even though I can, like, basically already see log app views articles show. Okay. Okay, so it's asking us to feed a parameter, but it's not pulling it up. I don't remember having this problem with any of this last time, but perhaps one of the changes that I just made is messing that up. And the way that I see it, it has to be this one. All right, let's actually go back. I'm going to restart the server. I don't know if you found yourself doing that very much, Robert.
You use the Chrome browser? You have to use the Control Shift J?
To what, to launch the debugger?
Yeah. Because actually, that's kind of how I found the problem with that dollars. Because I needed it to get fixed.
Yeah, because all of a sudden, show article isn't even working here. It's not showing any. I would assume that you got something completely different, right?
Yeah. Sounds kind of serious.
Oh yeah. Because it was working just fine last week, wasn't it? The only error I was getting is the user must exist error. The server is locked up. I can't even get the server to stop. Oh, there we go. Okay, well, it stopped itself. All right. Well, this is really actually a good example of how to try to fix something that's broken. All right, because you see, like, I went into these files here that I was just messing with, and I commented out the before filters, thinking, okay, maybe one of these screwed it up, right? All right, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go back a version. I'm going to go back to my saved version. I'm going to stop my server. I'm going to close my files here because I don't need anything conflicting. All right, so I'm going to actually name the current version. So see, I'm not going to delete it. Some people would have the impetus to like just delete it. Where do we have it open? That's the question. Okay, the prompt was enough to keep it open. Okay, so now back to the folder. All right, so that's the not working version. This is the one that was working. So let's run this version now. Because I've been having issues, I'm going to run bundle install just to make sure that everything is there. Okay, it seems like everything's okay. Let's run the server now. All right. Let's load up our application. I'm going to watch the web server now running. Okay, see how it seemed to respond okay. Let's just look at an article. Okay, so this is slow right now. So now this would tell me that we were having this problem last time, but we just didn't test it. Okay? Because we see that it's basically pulling up the same thing. All right, I'm going to see if I can stop it. I can't, but I can try to get to the login page. Let's see if that loads up. Login page loads up quickly. Log out page seems to work okay. And that actually, the fact that it even responded to me logging out, notice what it did. I just put the message on the screen. Well, it does right here. Okay. All right, but then we have to kind of track that down, right? Because see the line it's getting stuck on? So what does that actually tell us? And this is articles. Let's take a look at this. All right, and I have a suspicion here, and I know that I'm rolling video on all this, which is, you know, Probably not going to make for the best of videos, but if anybody's like in this class, they would probably care, so this is probably just for Richard's sake, I assume. But there was a couple of spots in here, and I, you know, frankly, I don't recall where all of them are off the top of my head. You know, we have this issue where it's form 4, div 4, and there was one spot where I highlighted one of them. Okay, we took care of our routes there. This is all comments. Okay, so this is where the edit happened. So you remember this. Yeah, see, the last thing I want to do right now, frankly, is go back and rebuild things. Okay, so I'm at a little bit of a crossroads here. All right, so given all the issues that I was having, and I'm recording this into the video for posterity's sake, I needed to go back to a backup copy where I could actually get things to load up. And the version that I went back to was this one here, where up through page 158 things were working correctly. So here I am at page 158, and assuming that these are probably the last two edits that I made, and I'm going to double check that, and I'm going to start to kind of rifle through in what I call a pretty rapid fashion to correct all the stuff that we see here and try to get it to work. So that's my goal right now, and then to get myself chapter 9 ready is really my goal. All right, so let's start to do this, and in order for this to happen as efficiently as possible, I'm going to try to do everything on my main screen here. Normally I would side by side this quite a bit with a second screen, but I don't know if that's going to be really practical or feasible. So here's my Notepad++ for doing my edits. I'm going to get into the correct project folder, which is the active blog folder right now. So I'm going to check this first. So app, views, layouts, application. And it looks like I did get these two things in there. Okay, so that looks okay. Moving on to the next one. Views, articles, article partial. And here's where I'm going to kind of rely on your eyes here in the classroom to kind of help me not miss things. Div 4 article due, link to article title and article. Yeah. Now the difference that I have here, and this is the little piece I threw in here, and let me ask you, Robert, did you do it this way, or did you do it the way that came up automatically? Yeah. Sure.
It's mine could be different, not because yours is wrong, but because I might be shorter.
Yeah, that's a possibility.
I have like a big article owned by.
Yeah, that's a later addition. And I'm looking at the guy's GitHub version. He has what I have on my page. But I think that what I'm going to do is, I don't think that that's problematic. So let's just leave that. And then I'm going to the comments partial. And that's also a div 4. And that's got basically the same layout there. Then we have a new comment. That's this one. And that's the form that we see here. And that all looks okay to me as well. Moving on down. And then we're going back to the comment partial here. And notice here is where it is changed. You notice? There it changes to what I have. So that should be okay. Okay, and actually we have already done that. In fact, we have it up on the screen right now. And what they're trying to show you is that you have the title, edit and delete are available. Here's the article itself. Here's the comment form ready to go. And of course, if you click on this, it does seem to be working, correct? So that seems okay. Okay, now we're going to go to this step here. So I should be able to execute this step. So I am going to leave that command prompt open. I'm going to open up a second one. And here's where we're going to type that command. We've got to get into that folder though first. All right, so we're going to run the command Rails generate All right, we got the controller in there. Now we're going to go to our routes file. Add in our resource, number singular, saving it. Back to our routes file, and here's where we get these couple of lines in there. And then notice that they also had that extra little tidbit here at the top, which they kind of like don't tell you about, but they drop it in anyhow. Like so. and save it. Now we're going to go to our sessions controller. And I'm tempted here to just pull it up from the browser just to save all the hassle of indenting. But that's when I need that second set of eyes to make sure that I'm not screwing anything up here as well. All right, that looks okay to me. Save it. Views, sessions, new. And here's where we're creating a brand new file. That all looks okay. Next file, controller, session controller, which I have open, and they're adding a destroy. Alright, so now we're going to test it as they're indicating. I have not restarted the web server, so I'm just going to click on these links here. Let's see if that comes up. And we're not actually trying the actions right now, we're just seeing if the pages load. Alright, and so far they seem like they're okay. Okay, so we're quickly catching up to where we were before. Now, of course, this is where I'm starting to get a little concerned because now we're hitting on this render articles thing. So here we go to views articles index. Views articles index. And we'll take that to our Notepad++. AppViews articles index. Oh, I see, and they want us to get rid of all this now, right? All right, so here, and this is just an update. No more tables. Link at the bottom is okay, as is the line break, which they want with a slash. Alright, now we're going to try it, and they just want us to go right to the root of the application, so let's see what happens. Okay, so we're back to here, right? Good. So far, so good. Okay, now we're adding categories to the article form. So this is the form partial under articles. Oh, that's right. We ran into, this is the one where we had extra carriage returns in there, right? And we were putting it here. We got rid of this one, is that right? No, no, that one we did want. And you did make this change, did you not? Okay, it looks like we have Richard with us. Hello, Richard. We're kind of backtracking right now a little bit because I started working on my stuff today and none of it was working, so I had to backtrack to a backup and start rebuilding. So you can see right now I'm on kind of page 168 again, which is about as far as I got last time, just trying to make sure that I have everything working. So what I was about to do, if you're trying to keep track, is I'm trying to launch this and actually get this up on the screen right now, create a new article, and click some check boxes to add categories. So that's my task for the moment. So we're going to click new article. Let's see if this loads up. Now I did not. Yeah, see, now we're getting another error here. Oh yes, we ran into this problem before. Okay, so I know what this. We ran into this when we were working. Do you remember when we were? Yeah, we have form as the variable here, but then here we, for some reason, we're copying code, and they didn't like do it correctly. And I don't see anything else with a singular F. So let's save that. All right, let's try that again. And there it is. Even though everything is listing how many times? 3 times? All right, let's solve that problem. Let's see if we can... why did that happen? Do we remember? Yes, that's right. In the data, very good, thank you. So in the database itself, we had those duplicates. So let's go ahead and find those and remove them. Yeah, good memory on that one. Yeah, it's amazing when information actually sticks. And remember, after you delete records or add records, you have to click write changes inside this product in order for it to save. So now if I go back and I do a refresh, all right, so now we just have the categories we want. That is not the prettiest looking thing. And yes, we did have some sort of an issue here with stuff not being on the same line, but we weren't too worried about that. But we can test it tonight and see.
I have a problem making it disappear later when you use CSS.
Making which thing disappear?
That it's vertical as opposed to horizontal.
Yeah, you can go in there and tweak that.
Yeah, with CSS.
Yeah, you can. All right, I'm just generating some content here so that something's in the article. And then create. And now, of course, I have to look at. Okay. So now we have this issue, but it just shows how far back we've gone. Okay. So user must exist. So of course we're going to have that. Okay, that issue. All right. So that's not necessarily a problem. That just puts us right back to where we should have been. All right. Okay, so now we're to this point, which is just about where we left off last time, I think, right? So, and now we're going to the application controller. So this is more of a root level controller here. So going up to app, controllers, application. And this is where we're going to drop in all this code. I am going to go grab it from the GitHub listing once again to save from all the indents. And then save it. Now we're going to go to the articles controller. And here we're going to add this before action. Yeah, and here's one of my points of concern, and this might be a spot where things actually screwed up now that I think about it. Let's bring up the GitHub version, and that really kind of confirms what I'm thinking here. So this is where I may have screwed up last time, because I think I may have left this one in here, and that's not what I want. I just want this newer version in here. But then I notice, you notice online how they're using before filter and before action. I'm going to stick with the one that's in the book for right now. It's basically doing exactly the same thing, so I don't think we're going to have an issue. But that's one spot where we might come back to it. We'll see. Right, now we're going to go to the users controller. And this is about where we picked up, right, Robert? And before action is set user only, but then we want to get the authenticate in there to go before. like so. Save it. And let's make sure everything else here is okay. And I think everything else is all right. All right. So now we should be asked to log in every time we're trying to change something or create something new. So let's go ahead and try to make that happen. Get rid of some of these unnecessary tabs here. I'm also going to come out of full screen and kind of side by side this a little bit because I do want to watch the server log. Just simply because it shows me as stuff is happening. So I like that measure of oversight, I suppose. So first of all, let's refresh this. All right, so there's the new view. And now if I go to create a new article, it's asking me to log in. So I can try logging in. We all know the password here, right? Secret. So secret. All right, now let's see if I can create a new article. Oops. Yeah. Do we want to paste in code? Probably not. That's probably not a wise move. But we do want some sort of text in there. Right. Okay, well this is a separate issue. Okay. User must exist. Although we were logged in, all right. Now I'm not sure that that's a huge concern at this point, because we do have some additional stuff to do here. Now Robert, you had run into this particular issue. Did you run into it at this point or much earlier? Do you remember how you fixed this one?
I found out the way around it. So, you kind of said you want to do. I'll see if I can find it.
Okay.
Just run
I mean, we can always trace down the logic of it too, right?
Well, I think eventually it becomes obsolete, and this problem will disappear later on.
Yeah, it does. All right, let's not focus any attention on it then. All right, so now we're at this point. We're going to go to App Controllers Comments Controller. And once again, we're going to have the same little tidbit here. And you notice that we're going to have to replace these first two lines. And notice how we're switching these all to before filters as opposed to actions. So this is going to get replaced. And save it. Right, and I think this is actually the spot when we were doing this task that we were failing. Right? This is where we started out today. All right. We're just going to assume that's all okay. All right, and they start talking here about some of the helpers that you have, and there's a whole listing of them here, and I think we were talking about these last time. Right. And here's part of the problem we're having. Right now I can't, and I have to check this, of course. I can't create a new article, so I can't actually test this feature, but what they're trying to show you here is this whole concept of when you do provide a form to somebody, and this is a really old hack, you guys, that you should know about. You should at least have awareness of it. When in the old days, people would set up HTML forms. Real clever computer people would sometimes jump onto those forms knowing that the forms weren't really basically sanitized when the data was being put in. So like if you were clever, you could drop HTML into the form or JavaScript into the form, even more dangerous, and do things by just submitting stuff through a form that normally you wouldn't be able to do. And what they try to show you here is that there are already safeguards built in to this infrastructure that kind of sanitizes stuff for you, so that if you put stuff in the form of HTML, it switches it so that you can't actually drop brackets in. So you get code like the stuff that I just highlighted as an output. Basically, you know, preventing people from injecting code onto a page. So they're asking us to go ahead and try that. I'm not really concerned about that right now. I just want to keep pressing forward here. Let's move on to the views, articles, article partial, which I probably already have open, but let's see, views, articles, and the article partial. And then notice down here at the bottom, it says simple format is all we're adding here. Everything else should be okay. Now we're going to go to the app models article. Now this is actually kind of important to note, because now we're switching over away from like views folders and controllers to a model folder. And so we're messing now with a data component. So we're going to be looking at the article RB.
Could I just show you? But this is the statement. If you would say, comma, optional true, then you won't get the message.
Thank you for pointing that out, Robert. Comma, underscore true, like this, right?
An optional colon and then true.
Oh, okay, gotcha. But the reason that we're really here is this, the bottom piece. And notice what that code is doing. What is it checking? Return false unless owner is a user. So that's going to help us prevent some problems right there too. And might actually negate the need for this, honestly, but we'll see. In fact, actually, let's proceed in this fashion. Let me remove that. Now we have a few more edits to do, but I do want to mention something because now we're changing a model file, right? So that's actually a pretty important file that might necessitate running a DB migrate. But let's go here first. Views, article partial, which I thought I had open. Probably do. I probably have about 20 tabs open there right now. All right, so here is now we're dropping in a conditional, and I'm just reading. I'm actually just going to replace that code with what I see here, just simply because it's easier than. And you see how I'm very hesitantly pasting, because I'm actually reading the code to make sure. Okay, so that looks okay. We're going to go to the views, comments, comment partial, which is also probably open, but faster to get to it this way. And we're making the same type of change here. But you notice how this, all the code in between is different too? You guys noticing that? So once again, I'm just going to do this. That looks okay. You notice this little command here? What it's reminding us to do is to go into our database and just double check all the articles to make sure that everything's got a user ID. So anything that's got a user ID of 1. But what they're, you know what, why don't we actually do what they're saying at the console? I think that's probably not a bad idea. So here's what I'm going to do. So I'm just going to type Rails console. I mean, I know that I can do this manually in the database, I get that. But I'm just going to type user equals user dot find by email. And here's where I don't remember what user I created in there, so I have to actually look. Oh, of course, my famous ASDF. All right, and then hopefully I can remember what the password was. And I need quotes in there, don't I? Okay. Like so. And I think that's the whole statement. All right, and then the next command not want to copy nicely, but I guess it does. Okay, so now if that worked, here, if I go back to my articles, yep, they're all set to 3 now. All right, so then I'm going to exit the console here, minimize my database. And then we're going to check this particular file as well. So we're going to go to controller, article controller. All right, first we're going to make sure that our before actions are set. Right, now we're checking. You notice here, new doesn't change, but edit does change. And you see the difference here as well. I think functionally these are the same. I'm hesitant to change that one. Did you change that one, Robert? Do you remember? I'm going to actually go ahead and change it. I think it makes more sense to stay consistent there. See the same change in update. In update, it's actually being added, though. That wasn't there before. And then we check destroy, and we're going to add that to destroy. And this looks all okay as well. All right, so I'm saving this, folks. And then we're going to go to the helpers folder. This is kind of a different spot for us. So let's go to that spot. App Helpers Application Helper. And you can see he's got a bunch of comments in there. If you want, you can just copy all of that. That's fine. Doesn't hurt to have it in there. Here's a neat little JavaScript trip. I don't know if you guys have ever taught anything like that, the one that I got highlighted there. But yes, through JavaScript you can control the history of your browser. So have you guys ever gone to a web page and you hit the back button and you can't get out? You have to almost like double back or hit the drop down on the arrow and find where you want to go. Because some people will code that back button to not take you back one in the history list. Kind of a nasty little trick, but application developers do it. Oh, that's just a concatenate. Mhm. Yeah, and they're just building a string there, Robert. Oh, good question, though. So now we're going to go to Views, Users, Form. And then right here at the bottom, at the very bottom, we're changing. We're allowing the users not to just to submit, but to also cancel out of what they're doing. Save that one. It's also just really quickly doing a check on the rest of it. Same thing in the articles folder. Pull up the form for that. And we're doing the same exact adjustment here. Yeah, except I see one difference here. So see here how we have form, right? But here we have F. You guys catch that? So this down here actually has to be form. All right, now we've done a lot of little changes there, but they are now going to start dealing with some more like rudimentary level kind of stuff. So what they're going to do now is they're going to like set up a better structure on some of the pages. That's what you're seeing here in this section. So let's go to AppViews Layouts application, and I know that one's open. So pull that back up, and you can see there's quite a significant list of differences here. And I'm going to check the GitHub page, and the reason I'm doing this is I'm really curious, really a lot about this stuff up at the top here, because if you notice that compared to what's in my Notepad++, right, how this stuff is different. I'm pretty reluctant to change this stuff here. So I'm probably just going to leave that stuff alone. But I am very much going to change all the stuff in the body tag. So here is some of the difference. Now notice that these lines here do actually exist in this code. They're right in that section right here. But I think I'm going to opt to go to the browser and grab all the stuff from here. And I'm just going to grab everything between the body tags. Like so. And right now I'm just doing a little bit of examination if you're wondering, well, what's he doing? That's what I'm doing. I'm just making sure it's all okay. If we do run into some issues, this might be a spot where we look. But let's get there one step at a time. Now we're going to remove the new article link from this page. So let's go to Views, Articles, Index. And we're going to remove that from there, so we don't need those pieces. And then what some of you might consider fun is now they want us basically to create a CSS file with all the CSS provided. Now what I'm going to do, of course, is I'm just going to come here and just grab all this stuff because I really don't want to type it and do a messy copy paste. So I'm just going to grab everything that's inside here, except it grabs all of it, of course. Let's copy that. Let's create a new file. And they do tell us where to put it, so let's be really mindful of that. So app, asset, style sheets, application. So the first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to go to that location. I'm going to do a save as. So app, assets, style sheets, and then notice, wait, we should be careful here, right? Because the file already exists. Maybe we should open it instead of overwriting it. So let's open it. And it is, of course, blank. Right? Okay. We don't need this stuff at the top, but we do need this stuff that we're pasting in. And what they're basically doing for you here is they're just saving you the huge hassle of typing this out and going through the trouble of styling everything. But long story short is when you're done, you should get something that looks like this. So here we go, folks. I'm considering the chapter done now, so let's see what monstrosity we've created. But I'm going to tell you preemptively that I expect that we might have a couple of little issues, but let's see if maybe I'm wrong. All right, so the CSS clearly is working just fine, right? So now we have something that looks a little more normal, I suppose. It is recognizing the fact that I'm logged in. Are you guys noticing that? Let's go ahead and log out on purpose. So you see how the menu changes? Let's go ahead and log in. And I'm going to log in with my, and here's where I'm like, oh no, what did I set the password to be? And I think I set it to be, let's hope I'm right. Okay, good. Not what I've normally used in the past, that's why it was a little pensive there. All right, so let's go ahead now and see if we can, first of all, create a new article. Let's see if we get any sort of issues with that. Let's see what that does. All right. Yeah, so you guys catching the mistake? It's great. Got an extra bracket. All right, so that's a painfully easy one to fix. So let's go to AppViews articles form partial. App. All right, I guess I have to do it this way. And it says line 50. Oh yeah, sure enough. Yeah, isn't it? It's great when it's beautifully simple like that. Yeah. All right, so let's try it. I'm just going to do a refresh and see what it does. Okay, boom. So that's also a much more beautiful look here. This is not so clever. I'll just pick a town here. Yep. Okay, so it seems to have worked. Let's go back to the main page. See if we can edit. Looks good. Let's see if we can add a comment. It's kind of silly to comment on your own article, but, you know, I suppose. Okay, so now we're getting another error message. You catching that? Right, and that's on which file? Comment controller. All right, let's go to that file. And it says, do you mean before action? Line 2. All right, so I'm trying to read these output statements here. It says app controllers comment, class comments controller. All right, so let's go to the book and see if we can find that spot where we were doing that. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I did. On both of them? All right, you know what? Let's try before action on both of them. Maybe that's enough to fix it. Okay. That's good. And that, folks, gets us to complete the chapter. And a great time to take a break now that class is done. It took us all that time to fix that, Robert. Okay, so here's kind of the lay of the land, you guys. And yes, I'm recording this into the video because it's basically just you guys watching it, and I think mostly Richard, actually. We're going to try to get as much of this Chapter 9 done as we can. I have posted stuff with due dates. I may adjust a couple of the due dates. My goal is that next week when we get here, whatever state our application is in, we're going to make an attempt to upload it to Heroku, which is our deployment chapter, Chapter 13. So that's going to kind of be one of the things that we play with, just to try to get it on a real live web server. There are points associated with that. So actually, let me bring up the course shell. I think that's probably an intelligent way to proceed here.
Is that step something you can do more than once? And that would do it, let's say next week, we're going to redo it again?
Yes.
Once it's more complete?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And what Robert was asking, Richard, if you're curious, is after you do the deployment process, can you do that more than once? And the answer is yes, you can. Either under the same project title with updated files or as a new project with a different URL. All right, so what we finished was 8, so that finishes Unit 5. Then we have Unit 6, which goes through chapters 9 and 10. So 9 is a chapter you do want to try to get through. My recollections of 9, it's not that lengthy, right?
No, but there, I had this issue. I recognize my
Okay. All right. Well, you know what? I will make a little posting about that. So I don't know, Richard, if you could hear what Robert was saying, but basically in Chapter 9 he ran into an issue where he's using jQuery commands, but the jQuery libraries were not added, and there's two ways to add them in Ruby on Rails, and that is, one, you run a gem and you include the Rails version of jQuery, or what is usually my preference on most web projects just in general is to include an external link to the jQuery libraries that are out online, either directly from the jQuery site, or as many people prefer to use the Google API folders to pull that stuff in. It's a pretty simple little thing to do. So like if you look at any example of working with jQuery where you're pulling in the libraries, the only other issue you might have with that is which version are you pulling in. And I wouldn't go with anything newer than version 2. I think they have a version 3 out there already. The book was written with version like 1.8 point something, maybe like 1.8.2 or 1.8.3, which is a pretty major release version before they jumped up to 2. I know that when they jump up to version 3, they have some significant changes to the language, so you don't want to jump up to that version. But anything version 2 or lower should be fine. So you see Chapter 10 is extra credit. And then finally, in Unit 7, I think everything is extra credit. But what I would like to do next time is just try to